DevRel gets to do all sorts of fun things. Right now, we are building a rapid prototype of a place where developers can come together and get access to all of the things they need: information, articles, primers, guides, tools, whatever. And it's occurred to me that the way that we work is natural to us, but unnatural to many people. We are very scrappy because our job is to test ideas as fast as possible. Because we want intel, we want information, we want that back from people, so we know, should we keep doing this? Should we not? Is this a good idea? And we have to do this because we are a 2-person team, and our capacity is incredibly valuable. Because everywhere we go, that's really the only thing we can do. We can really only do maybe 2 big things, and that's it. That's everything we do. So, as fast as possible, we need to build ideas, test them to see if they're worth carrying forward. And right now, for instance, we are building this entirely using Hugo, which is an easy, quick start for applications. You can write all of your pages more or less in Markdown with some formatting. We're using that. We're using GitHub pages in our internal instance of GitHub so that we can publish something without needing a web server or an app ID. And it's a static website, so it's a little feature limited, but we've been able to scrappily cobble together something that is ready to go in about 2 to 3 weeks of initial effort. It's published already. We're already getting feedback. We can already see what do people need, what are the next steps, how should we build on top of this, and should we build on top of this? We talk about this with developers all the time, the need to build scrappy engineering skills. How can you find the simplest way to deliver this so that you can learn from it fast, even if it means putting something together that you'll likely throw away, but your first implementation is testing an idea. So how do you test that idea fast? The feedback we get a lot is that product owners and business stakeholders are not comfortable with this, and for a couple of reasons. One being that they're worried that if they don't get the big thing they asked for, they'll never get a chance at that capacity again. And this happens from years of project funding, where it takes so long to get an idea approved, maybe years before your idea bubbles up and you put so much effort into it that you know full well if something changes or if you're wrong, you might have to wait years again before you get another seat at that table. So you want to make sure you get everything that you might ever want while you're there, because you might never have it again. It's like if you only got to eat once a year, you'd probably want to eat the whole buffet even if it wasn't good for you or even if it wasn't your favorite food. The other problem we have is that people are worried that if I show a prototype to someone, they'll think it's finished and they'll want it and it's not ready to give to them yet. We hear this feedback a lot. Like, I can't show that to a user. They're going to say good enough, and then I'm stuck with terrible code. I've had that happen to me before, and a lot of the resolution of that has to do with transparency and honesty and education of teaching our product owners, especially because they're building technical products, and our business stakeholders about this kind of development lifecycle. And a lot of this we teach and we talk about, and I use a quote from the Netflix book, I believe it is called That Will Never Work. And he talks about how when they initially rolled out the queue, when you could actually add kind of a backlog of DVDs you wanted, they did what they would always do with a new idea or product launches. They would hack together an ugly website, maybe with some broken links and APIs, and it definitely was not what they wanted for the final thing, because they saw testing as important, not just to code, but to ideas. And they would test ideas as fast as possible and as simply and cheaply as possible, because you start with the idea of what if we're wrong. So they rolled it out. It was hideous. It was broken. It didn't function half the time, but people loved it and people were clamoring to get to it. And that was true of any idea that they carried forward. Finding ways to quickly test ideas with scrappy technology, it's invaluable, especially to an agile organization that's trying to move and learn quickly, embracing that intellectual humility of what if I'm wrong. And it makes better products in the end, because now when you go to build the thing with a little bit more effort and more cost, you've got way more information than you had before. So you're going to avoid features that are low value. Maybe you're going to scrap the idea entirely. Maybe what you're going to build is better suited to the actual humans that need to use it. So this is my challenge to you. Before you embark on any long initiative, long idea, big feature set, find a way to scrappily test it. Can you get 5 people in a branch to to sit with a paper prototype and talk through how they might use it? Can you throw together a little VBA application with some sample data and maybe have one loan officer go through and give you feedback on how they might use that and what that might look like? Can you throw up a static website with some ideas to see, does this drive traffic? Do people engage with it? Can you run a workshop where you give people on the wall, you've got posters of how the application might work, and you actually have them run a simulation where they interact with it? Finding cheap, scrappy ways of testing ideas is going to save you a lot of heartache. And I have really good news. It's really fun. The engineering problems of trying to solve something in a very simple way is a blast, especially if you know full well, it's okay if I throw this away when we're done. It is fine if this is not the cleanest, most beautiful code in the world. What I'm going to do is commit to making sure that we shelve this and we start over from scratch, something that JP and I do all the time. Normally, by the time we release something, we're on our third or fourth iteration of the core thing, and we will have thrown whole cloth away previous versions. And it is not waste. Number one, we are way faster the second time we do it because we've already solved the harder problems, and now we can start fine-tuning. Number two, we learned so much early on that we don't waste our time writing beautiful, clean, well-architected code for features that are completely useless, for something no one's going to use. So my challenge to you is figure out how to test things, engage your engineers in that, and bring them to the table to find scrappy, fun ways of creatively solving these initial prototyping problems, and get really comfortable with throwing away prototypes and starting all over again. It is not waste. You don't need to keep continuing down that path. It served its purpose. Start educating your partners that that is what we are doing. This is not the final thing. This is just a fun toy to play with so that we can get feedback from you, which means the uglier it looks, the better. The more lo-fi it looks, the better, so that people don't confuse it with the real thing.